This is Eagle Owl, and today I'll be talking about Nolan Smith. He gave his props to Jalen Hurts. Also, Gardner Johnson called cap on the report that came out. And lastly, we're going to talk about Sidney Brown, talk about some numbers. Is he ready? Is he not ready? But let's get straight into it. All right, man, before we hop straight into it, we lost another Eagle. I mean, not that important, no offense to him, but Parris Campbell, who we had high hopes for. Remember in the beginning, before the season started, we was like, he could be that wide receiver 3. He's a speedster, this, that, and the third. Then, Brent Covey beat him out. And then you bring in Jahan Dotson, who played really well. So, he never got his footing, but he goes to Dallas. That's where he go. He go to Dallas. Again, like the same thing I said about Miles Sanders, I can't wish you best of luck. I got to hope you fail. You're in the division, and I hate Dallas. I'm sorry, Parris Campbell, but you individually, best of luck to the team. Nah. All right, man, so let's get into it. So let's talk about Nolan Smith. Nolan Smith, he went on Cam Newton podcast. As we all know, Cam Newton and Jalen Hurts have a little riffraff. Let's be honest about it. Cam Newton started it, calling him like a game manager and how he can't do this, can't do that. Is he good enough to win the Super Bowl? So there's been a little riffraff. And even when they had their interview together, Cam Newton even admitted it was tense. And to Jalen Hurts' point, or this is what I'm thinking, it's like, man, I looked up to you. I used to do the Superman, and you disrespect me. Like, you constantly disrespect me on TV. So I'm assuming that's how Jalen Hurts feel. But it seemed like Cam Newton tried to bait Nolan Smith to talk about Jalen Hurts like a game manager. He don't have to really do much, but Nolan Smith shut that down. Let me play this clip.
When you got a guy across from you, your team leader in Jalen Hurts, knowing that what's asked of him isn't the same as a Josh Allen, how do you guys protect him knowing that, hey, that's still our guy, this is our brand of ball, and we try to protect it or try to perfect it the best we know how?
Man, I say this about one. What I call him one, because he that one. Like, man, he do everything the right way. Mm-hmm. And then not only is during the times when people are waving and stuff, man, he get us through there no matter what. Like my rookie year, Kelly Green game, we going to overtime. Sorry, team. I'm thinking, man, we about to lose. What one do? Ain't nobody, no read. It's wet, raining, everybody slipping. He running in for a touchdown. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I say, man, having faith in your quarterback is also another thing. Like, only time I ever watched the Carolina football team is when Cam played and was out there and giving them boys confidence and motivating in themselves. Them boys was sorry. Them boys sorry. Hey. What made them feel like they could do something? Okay, that's all I gotta say. One.
Come on now.
Okay, and that's the same thing for us. And even, yes, one is a great quarterback. He's not asked to do what Josh Allen does. Wanna know why? We got Saquon Barkley. We got offensive weapons. Mm-hmm. We got real people. So if you just go out there and play good football, and you play behind your defense, there's no reason we should lose.
I got to give Nolan Smith his props. For him to be a young guy, not to fall into that bait. A lot of people saying that Darius Slay, 34, 35-year-old, fell into media bait. When you look at a young guy like Nolan Smith, he did not fall into that bait. He I stand with him. I rock with him. Because even Cam Newton got to admit, he makes the big plays when it happens. People forget Jalen Hurts threw a pick in the Super Bowl, but he turned it up. He definitely turned it up. The dagger to Devontae Smith, making smart reads, hit A.J. Brown, and Saquon didn't even have his best day in the Super Bowl. And I say this about Jalen Hurts. As far as last year, I know a lot of people say Saquon this, Saquon that. But when Jalen Hurts' number was called, like, all right, you want me to make some big plays? I can do it. And that's what he did. But if the run game going, he wasn't going to take the shot from Saquon Barkley and make his job harder. To me, that takes a lot of, self-will within himself, because a lot of quarterback got egos. Like, I got to get my 400 yards. I got to get my yards. I got to get my passing yards. But Jalen Hurts never looked at it that way. He literally put the team first. A lot of these guys say, team first, I'll take less money, this, that, and the third. They be capping. But when you watch Jalen Hurts, it's not a lie. There were plenty of times could have thrown the ball. There's plenty of times he checked out of passing plays and like, you know what? I see how they lined up. Saquon could get past them and get a big game. So you got to salute Jalen Hurts for that. And Nolan Smith, salute to you handling that question the right way. All right, so let's talk about a little CJ Gardner Johnson just a little bit. And I wanted to avoid this thing that's been going on. So Marcus Hayes wrote an article saying, like, why did the Eagles let CJ Gardner Johnson go? And he was like, you know, he gave up a lot of touchdowns, this, that, and the third. The weird thing about this post, and I seen it on Instagram, is that Jordan Mailata liked the post. That was the weird thing. He liked the post. I think it was something with CJ Gardner Johnson and the captains in the locker room. That's just my theory. The Darius Slay, Jordan Mailata liking negative post about CJ Gardner Johnson. There was some riffraff with CJ Gardner Johnson. I keep using that word in the locker room. It just had to be, you know. And then CJ Gardner Johnson wrote cap in the comments. Like, it's a lie. That did not happen. So we could eliminate that because a lot of people are like, well, they let him go because of production. I'm going to tell you what people saying. Something in the locker room, that's me. Production, a lot of people saying that like he could easily be replaced because of his production, which I think it's more the energy than the production with CJ Gardner Johnson, and he can play at a high level. So to me as a fan, that's two positives. And then the third thing is money. Money thing I think should be last on the list because we was only gonna save about what $200,000 against the cap. And people are like, well, look at the long term. Well, you could have handled that next year. You could have reworked this contract. You could have cut him loose, traded him then. But if you think about it, we just did a random player swap with Houston and we basically lost the trade. That's why everybody's like, had to be something to this. So we can eliminate it was production. I doubt it was production. It had to be something else. So CJ came out and eliminated that. So he's calling cap on that report. Nothing to do with him giving up touchdowns. Nothing at all. So we can eliminate that. All right. So last but certainly not least, seemed like this one going to be a short video, but we're going to talk about the Sidney Brown thing. So Sidney Brown PFF numbers are coming out. And you guys know I'm a big Sidney Brown fan. But the PFF numbers are very favorable, showing like he could be a top tier, safety. But let's not look into those numbers too much because when Sidney Brown came in, it was like garbage time-ish. Maybe he was the backup quarterback, and you see him play the last game of the season, against the Giants and had a really good game. Go back and watch that game. Watch Sidney Brown. He had a really, really good game. So they saying he's ranked like 4th, according to PFF, amongst all safety and one of the top cover safeties in the league. But he didn't play as many snaps as a starting safety, to be fair. So that's why I said in the beginning I'm a big fan of him, but let's not get misconstrued with the numbers. There's some things that Sidney Brown need to work on, and I hope he do. And hell, I hope they bring in somebody for him to compete with. I know a lot of people saying Lewis Seen, but I think he could beat out Lewis Seen. I think you bring in a veteran and really let him compete. Because I'm thinking of the Nakobe Dean thing last year. I always bring that up because Nakobe Dean had to earn his stripes. These other young guys got to earn their stripes. When Zach Bond and Devin White was signed, like Nakobe Dean, you can't let Zach Bond, you can't let Devin White beat you out. And ironically, he beat out Devin White, and Zach Bond ended up being the all-pro that ended up staying in Philadelphia. But you can say this, Nakobe Dean earned his stripes. He earned his stripes, and I got to salute him for that. Now, we need Sidney Brown to earn them stripes. Now, do those numbers during the full course of a season. Don't bring up the injury thing. Like the ACL thing, I think was a freak injury. I know he had a concussion, but concussions happen. He only missed the game, if he missed the game. So Sidney Brown, I think he'll be fine, but I really think you should bring in competition. Let him beat the competition out, and I think he can. Give him a full training camp, full off season with Vic Fangio. Remember, Sidney Brown came back week 7, week 8. To be fair, Sidney Brown be perfectly fine. He'll be fine. It feel like we're talking about Sidney Brown, how we was talking about Nakobe Dean last year before he started, and then you like, oh, Nakobe Dean is that guy. And I think Sidney Brown, he's going to turn to be that guy. But you got to bring in the competition, in my personal opinion. But that's all I got for you guys today. And hey, man, what do you think? How do you feel about the news? Sidney Brown, see ready. CJ Gardner Johnson calling cap on reports. Nolan Smith standing up for his quarterback. And Parris Campbell to Dallas. Really? Come on, Parris. But this is Eagle Owl, man. I'm out.